Hello, students. These are topic tests that we've designed to help you gauge your level of preparation per topic. So, idea is that you take this test and then go through this video. In this video, we try to give you a perspective of how or what would be a good attempt, what questions you could have looked at while taking the test in a timed manner. Also, if you like the test and the video, there are more than 200 such topic tests available on the Bodhee Prep Android app. The link for the app is given in the description of the video. So just download the app and make use of these tests. This video, I talk about the percentage topic, test number 4, as mentioned in the app. Overall, this test was a moderate level of difficulty. Good attempt should be about 6 questions, net correct. And the time taken should be 19 to 22 minutes because there were questions where the calculation time was not very high. And therefore, the overall attempt time also would be around that 20-minute mark, where you will go through all the questions and from there get about 6 to 7 net correct answers, which will probably give you a 95 odd percentile in the test. Looking at the questions, this is question number 1. Question 1 says 4 individuals, X, Y, Z, W, jointly purchased a farmland for 56 lakhs. The combined contribution of Y, Z, and W is 460% of X's contribution. Further, the combined contribution of X, Z, W is 366.66 of Y's contribution. Z's contribution is 40% of the total contribution of X, Y, W together. Determine the contribution by W. Assuming the contributions are X, Y, Z, and W, we can say X plus Y plus Z plus W is equal to 56. From the first statement, Y plus Z plus W is 460% of X. So we can say Y plus Z plus W is equal to 460 by 100x or 4.6x. Now, if we replace the value of y plus z plus w is 4.6x in the first equation, we can write x plus 4.6x is equal to 56 or 5.6x is equal to 56, which will give us x as 10. Second, 366.66%. Now, if I multiply this by 3 and divide by 3, 366.66 multiplied and divided by 3%. 366.66 into 3 will give us 3 threes are 9, 6 threes are 18. So 1100, 14. 1100 approximately by 3. 1100 divided by 3 will be 900, 366.6 percentage. And 1100 by 3 percentage will be nothing but 1100 by 300 as a fraction, so 11 by 3. And therefore, we can say for y, x plus z plus w is equal to 366.6, 11 by 3 of y, which means if we substitute x plus z plus w in the first equation, we'll get y plus x plus z plus w is 11 by 3y is equal to 56, which means 3y is a 3 plus 11, 14. 14y by 3 is equal to 56. 14 4s are 56, 4 3s are 12, so y is equal to 12. We can put the value of y as 12 here. Z's contribution, Z is equal to 40%. Z is 40% of the total contribution made by X, Y, and W together. Z is 40% of X, Y, and W together. So this means X plus Y plus W is equal to Z upon 0.4. Because 40% is 4 by 100.4, we take it to denominator. Now, if we substitute x plus y plus w in the first equation, we'll get z plus z upon 0.4 is equal to 56, which will give us 0.4 plus 1. 1.4 z upon 0.4 is 56. This is nothing but 14z by 4 is equal to 56. 2 sevens are 14, 2 twos are 4, 7 eights are 56. So z will come out to 8 twos are 16. We put the value 16 here. We have to find the value of w. 10 plus 12 plus 16 plus w is equal to 56, which means w will be 56 minus 10, 10, 10, 30, 38. So this will come out to 18. The value of w is 18. Again, in terms of level of difficulty, I'd say it is probably a moderate sort of difficulty, because there are three sets of calculation and we'll have to work with percentages faster. Also, in terms of attempt time, since I'm writing all the steps, the time taken is longer, but ideally you should be able to do this in about 2.5 minutes overall to solve the value of W. In a town, three candidates ran for the position of mayor. All eligible voters participated in the election and no votes were deemed invalid. The candidate who lost received 30% of the total votes. Determine the minimum possible margin by votes by which the winning candidate led over their closest competitor, considering that each candidate received an integral percentage of votes. Integral percentage of votes. Now, the winning competitor led over the. Okay. So there are three candidates. One of them has got 30% of the votes. So the other two would have got 70% of the votes. If we assume that one of them got 31%, so that there is a margin of one, the other will end up getting 39%. So this will be the winner, not possible. So we divide 70 into two values with the minimum difference. So 70 by 2 is 35. One more than this will be 36. One less than this will be 34. Each candidate received integer percentage of votes. So one of them will get 36, one will get 34, and therefore the winner will lead the closest competitor by at least 2% of votes. So here the difference comes out to 2%, 36 and 34. Overall, I'd say this question is a easy level of difficulty. The only problem here could be that we instead of finding the first and the second, we end up trying to minimize second and the third, in which case the answer could be 1. But overall, here the answer has to be 2 is the minimum difference if the percentages are integral, and that becomes the answer, option B. Every day, a flower vendor sells 3/4 of their flour and 20% of the remaining flowers wilt overnight. If total of 1984 flowers wilted over 3 nights. So suppose we have to find out 3/4 over 3 days. 4 cube is 64. So suppose if we start with 64x as the number of flowers, on day 1, 3/4 are sold, and therefore 1/4, 16x are left. During the night, 20% of this will be 0.2 into 16x. These get wilted, 64, 32. These get wilted, and therefore the number of flowers left is 16x minus 0.2 or 16x, which will be 1 minus 0.2, 0.8 into 16x. Over the next day, 3/4 of this gets sold, so 1/4 are left. 1/4 of this number will be 0.4 into 16x, 0.4, 0.2. 0.8 into 1 by 4 is 0.2 into 16x. Over the night, 20% of this, so 0.2 into 0.2 into 16x. This get wilted. Therefore, the number of flowers remaining will be, for day 3, 0.2 into 16x minus 0.2 into 0.2 into 16x. This will come out, taking 0.2 into 16x common, 1 minus 0.2. So 0.8 into 0.2 into 16x. These are the flowers left. Again, 1/4 of this are sold over the course of the next 3/4 are sold. So 1/4, that is 1 by 4 of this number will be 1 by 4 of 0.8, 0.2 into the rest of the number are left. Over the night, 0.2% of this, so 0.2 of 0.2 into 0.2. These will get wilted. Now, if you look at the total wilted flowers, night 1, night 2, night 3, 16x is common, 0.2 plus 0.2 square plus 0.2 cube. These are the number of flowers that got wilted. This is nothing but 16x into 0.2 into 0.04 into 0.008 or 0.248. This number is given as 1984. 1984, 964. Last three digits. Last three digits for 8. 1984 we can look to be, will not be divisible by 16, or will be divisible by 16. 16, 1 are 16, last 4 digits. Let us divide this, or let us write x as how many flowers the vendor start with. The vendor started with 64x. We have to find the value of 64x. So what we do is we multiply by 4 on both sides. So 64x is equal to 1984 into 4 upon 0.248. Logic being, we have to find the number of flowers that he started with. 16 into 4 is 64. So multiplying by 4 on both sides, and therefore the number of flowers can be written as 1984 into 4 into 1000 to remove the decimal 248. Now, if we divide this by say 8, 8 is 64, 4 carry forward 6, 8 for the 32, 6, 8. So this is divisible by 8, hit and trial, and therefore 8 for the 32, 000. From the options, option D. And therefore, the number of flowers that he started with was 32,000. As it's a medium to maybe even difficult level of difficulty would be high. If we are not comfortable with calculations, conceptually not very difficult, but again, there is always a problem of starting with the right kind of a number, so that it is easier to take 3/4 and the remaining 1/4 and then solving. Overall, moderate to high level of difficulty, and solving time easily about 2.5 to 3 minutes. A person invested a certain amount of money in a series of bets at a casino. After 3 rounds of betting, he lost half of his initial investment. In each round, if he wins, he receives 100, but he must give 50% of his total amount after each round. So he wins 100 rupees, and then whatever total amount he has to give half of that. Fortunately, he won all the 3 rounds. What was the initial amount of money he invested in the bets? Suppose initially he had X amount of money. He invests that and wins, therefore has X plus 100, then gives away half of this, therefore is left with X plus 100 by 2. If you give 50%, you're left with 50%. So this is after winning, this is after giving away. So the amount left. Again, wins 100 rupees. So this becomes, his amount becomes X plus 300 by 2. Gives away 50% of this. So this is after he wins the second round. At the end of the second round, he has to give away half of it. So he's left with half of what he's had at the end of the second round, which will be left half of this, which is X plus 300 by 4. In the third round, when he wins, he will get another 100 rupees, and therefore his amount will become X plus 300 by 4 plus 100. This will be nothing but X plus 700 by 4. He gives away half of it, so he's left with, I'll get the spelling right this time, X plus 700 by 4 upon 2, which is X plus 700 by 8. At this point, he realizes that he has lost half his investment. So the money that he has left is equal to half his initial investment. His initial investment is the X, therefore he's left with X by 2 now. If we cross multiply, 2X plus 1600 is equal to 2X plus 1400 is equal to 8X, which means 6X is equal to 1400, or initial investment is 1400 by 6 divided by 2, 700 by 3 becomes the answer. Option B. Overall level of difficulty, I'd say, is maybe easy to moderate, maybe. But since we are calculating 50%, 50% is always easiest to calculate because you have to multiply by half. Otherwise, in concept, moderate question, because of the numbers, probably towards easy. Should be able to solve with this in about 2 odd minutes overall. In a software development team, there are 3 programming languages, A, B, C, which contribute 25%, 35%, and 40% of the total code base. Suppose the code base is of 100 lines, so A comes from 25, B gives 35, C gives 40. Languages A, B, C produce 2%, 4%, and 5% of bugs. What percent of the code base is free from bugs? So here the code bugs will be 2% of 25, which is 5. 2% of 25 which is 50 by 100, 0.5. Here it will be 4% of 35, so 4 by 100 into 35, which will be 1.4. Here it is 5% of 40, so 5% of 40, which will be 2. So the total amount of bugs is 1.5, 1.4, and 2, which comes out to 3.9. And therefore, the code which is bug free will be 100 minus 3.9, which will come out to 96.1%. Option C, again, easy question, just multiply the two percentages, add them, and get the answer. Not more than 90 seconds to solve the question. A bookstore has 12 employees, each capable of handling the same workload. The monthly expenses for salary is 24,000, other operational costs are 10,000. Bookstore's monthly revenue is 48,000. The revenue, this one, and salaries, this one, vary in proportion to number of employees. Shareholders receive 10% of profit, which is proportional to the bookstore's monthly revenue. 10% of the profit, okay. 8.33% of employees were on leave for the entire month. So 8.33 means 1 by 12. Calculate the percentage degree in the shareholders' earning. Initially, the total profit was 48,000 revenue minus 24,000 minus 10,000. This will be 34 minus 48, 14,000. This was the total profit. Shareholders get 10% of profit. So 10% of profit will be 10% of 14,000, which is 1,400. Now what happens is, this is when there were 12 employees. If there are 12 employees, the salary is 24,000 and the revenue is 48,000. So we can say the salary is 2,000 per employee, 24 by 1,200, and the revenue is 48,000 upon 12, 4,000 per employee. If 1/12 of the employees, that is 1/12 of 12, that is one employee is absent, the number of employees will be 11. So salaries will be 2,000 into 11, which is 22,000, and revenue will be 4,000 into 11, which is 44,000. So the new profit will be revenue, which is 44,000, minus salary, which is 22,000, minus operational cost, which is 10,000. So this becomes 44 minus 22, or 12,000 rupees. 10% of the profit, which is given to shareholders, will be 10% of 12,000, which is 1,200. The percentage decreases 200 on a base of 1,400. 1,400 goes down to 1,200. This is a decrease of 2 by 14, or 1 by 7. 1 by 7 is 14.28%, and that becomes the answer. Because salaries are 2,000 per employee and revenue is 4,000 per employee, the reduction in revenue will be 4,000, reduction in salary 2,000. So overall profit will reduce by 2,000 on a base of 14,000. Overall, I think, again, easy to moderate sort of a question. Percentage and proportionality, two concepts are used. Therefore, overall, maybe moderate I'd go for. But because the numbers are easy, solving time should not be more than maybe 2.5 minutes. Every week, Maya buys 35 liters of milk, 9 dozens of egg. The cost of milk per liter is 20% of the cost of eggs per dozen. If she spends a total of 350 per week on milk and eggs. Now, if we say 20% means 1 by 5. So if I say that 1 dozen eggs cost 5x rupees, eggs cost rupees 5x, 1 liter milk will cost 20% of 5x, which is 1/5 of 5x, or x rupees. According to the question, the milk bought is 35 liters. The cost is 35x. Eggs bought are 45. Are bought are 9 dozens. So cost will be 9 into 5x. This is equal to 350. So 35, and this will be 45. 80x is equal to 350. So x is equal to 350 by 8. Okay, 35 by 8, not 350 by 8. If the price of X increases by 20%, what percentage reduction in milk consumption is required to maintain the same expenditure of 350 per week. We did not need to calculate X, I think. If price increases by 20% of 5x will be X. So new price will of X will be 6x. Now suppose the amount of milk bought is N. N into X, amount of milk bought should be or plus the eggs, which will be 9 into 6x. This becomes the new cost. This has to remain 350. What we can do is we can write nx plus 54x will be equal to the overall cost here, which is 80x, which means n will be 80x minus 54x, which will be 26. Nx will be equal to 26x, x and x cancel, so n will be 26. The new amount of milk or volume of milk that is to be bought is 26 liters. We have to find the percentage reduction in milk consumption. So from 35, it goes down to 26, which is a reduction of 9 on a base of 35 into 100. 9 by 36 would have been 1 by 4, 25%. So just less than 25%. I think approximately 24% would be the answer. 29 upon 36, sorry, more than 25%. 9 upon 36, 9 upon 36. 9 fours are 36. This is 25. Since the denominator is less, so value will be more than 25. Just more than 25, 25.7% becomes the answer. So unless you end up doing a calculation error like me, the question I think is moderate level of difficulty. This part of the calculation was not required at all. So if you're able to eliminate it and just equate the two equations directly, the calculation time drops significantly. But I think overall moderate level of difficulty in about 2.5 minutes to solve the question. Dell Computer has two branches, one in Ohio, one in Texas. The total number of employees in Ohio office grew by 25% to 750. Ohio, uh, uh, there is no year mentioned. If a number grows by 25% to reach 750, what will be the initial number? We can say N, Ohio later, N into 1 plus 25 upon 100 is equal to 750. This is 1 by 4. So N into 5 by 4 is 750. 5, 150 times N is 160. So if I talk of Ohio, there were total 160 people, which has now become 600 people, 160. 600 people, which has now becomes 750. 150 into 4 is 600, not 160. Ohio had 600 people, which has gone up to 750. But the ratio of male and female employees is same. So whatever male and female employees were there, that is same. So in Ohio, male and female we'll find out. The number of employees in Texas grew by in the year by 9.09%. So suppose in Texas there were T number of people. 1 plus 9.09 in fraction is 1 by 11. So 1 plus 1 by 11 becomes 1200. T grew by 1 by 11 to reach 1200. So we can write T into 12 by 11 is equal to 1200, which will give us T as 1100. So initially, Texas had 1100 people, which has now grown to 1200 people, 1 by 11. The ratio of male to female employee last year in Texas was 5 to 6, 5 is to 6. So here last year, Texas male to female was 5 is to 6, breaking 5 plus 6 is 11. So male and female will be 500 and 600 because total is 1100. This was last year. And the number of male employees in Ohio was 20% less than that of Texas office last year. So 20% of 500, 20% of 500 will be 100, 1/5 of 500. In Ohio, the number of male members will be 100 less than 500, which is 400. So the number of female members is 600. Clearly, we can see that the ratio of male to female is 2 is to 1. That will be the same ratio for 750 as well. 2 is to 1 means 2/3 male, which is 2/3 of 750. 2/3 of 750, which will be 500. So 500 males, 250 females. Ratio 2 is to 1. Because the question said in Ohio, the ratio was of males and females was the same in both the years. The same is not mentioned for the ratio in Texas. For Texas, it does not say that the ratio of male and female remains same. The total number of female employees in the year, this year in the office, in both the offices is. Now, we do not know the number of female employees in the Texas office, so this cannot be determined. Question number 8. Again, putting 8 and 9 together, I will still say overall it's an easy sort of a set because there are basic calculations, and if you're able to convert the percentage into fraction and know the concept of multiplying factor, it is just about putting values. Question number 8 alone should take about 90 seconds to solve. Moving to 9, 9 says the total number of employees in both the offices last year. Last year, Ohio had 600 members or people working employees. Texas had 1100, so a total of 1700. Since the calculation is done, so for this, that for question number 9, the calculation time will be still lesser because I did all the calculation for question 8 itself. Ideally, this should not have taken more than a minute. So overall, 8 and 9, about 2.5 minutes to solve. Overall, easy questions, both of them. A shepherd had n goats in the year 2000. In 2000, the number of goats increased by 40%. In 2002, the number of goats declined to 70%. Now, if something declines to 70% means there is a decrease of 30%. In 2000, the number of goats grew by 30%, again increases by 30%. In 2004, he sold 10% goats, so decrease of 10% again. Then he had 34398 goats. The percentage increase in the number of goats in this duration is. We can use successive percentage change. We could use multiplying factor. At least these are the two things that come at the top of my mind. Or we can start with n as 100 and make the following calculations. For example, if I start by 100, increase of 40% makes it 140. 30% of 140 can be calculated, which is 3 into 14, which will be 42. 42. 140 minus 42 will be 98 at this point. 98 then can increase by 30%. 30% of 98 will be 98 into 3. 30 upon 100 into 98, 0, 0 cancel. 98 into 3. 8 and 24 carry forward 2, 27, 22, 29.4 upon 10 is 2.9, 29.4. So at this point here, the number will become 98 plus 29.4, which will be 4.712. 7.4. This again has to decrease by 10%. 127.4. 10% of 127.4 will simply be 12.74. You know, and if we subtract that from the base, we'll get 140 minus 74. 66. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1. And therefore, finally, the number of goats is 114.66. From 100, the overall difference is 14.66, and therefore 14.66 percentage increase. This number is not to be used in the question because the number of goats has not been asked. Overall, I'd say maybe moderate level of question depending on which method you use. Using successive percentage change for percentages 2 at a time, or using multiplying factor, both are equally good methods in this case. Maybe successive is the last kind of method that should be used, since for the first 2 points, I could see that the number will remain an integer number even if I made changes. So I used this method because technically I just had to make one multiplication, which would have taken time. The other calculations are not very difficult. So moderate about 120 minutes or 120 seconds to answer the question. So if you look at the overall level of difficulty of the test, as I said initially, moderate level, net 6 questions would be a good attempt. And the question that I would have gone for were 2, 5, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Which are these questions? Not counting this one for the simple reason that there was some level of arrangement of numbers that needed to be done. But this was a straightforward question, just taking 70 dividing by 2. Again, here there are chances of mistake happening. Similarly, in this one as well, because iteratively the number had to be reduced. So if the numbers are difficult, it might be a problem. Fifth was easy, just multiply, divide, no matter how difficult the numbers are, this will always happen. This I thought again, because there is proportionality involved, there could be a problem in reading of the question. This I thought was easy in the sense that this had to equate the two numbers. 8 and 9 were just breaking up the overall number and then changing, not very difficult. Just what had to be remembered was the change or the ratio of male and female for Texas received was not given. So that was not to be assumed. Otherwise, very easy questions. I would have attempted 8 and 9. Similarly, I would have attempted 10 because the calculation was very simple. Four basic percentage changes, overall change required. And therefore, my attempt would be 2, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10 in this test.